guys. We'll give people a few minutes to make their way into the room. If there's anything you'd like to see discussed in this particular class, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, why don't we just take a breath and sink into this moment. Nice to see you, Joanna. Give yourself a chance to just slow down. To slow down to the speed of this eternal moment. Tension at the forehead and crown. Let your eyes take in everything all at once.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Just let the entire room sit in front of you all at once.
Do the left hand alone. No, you must go one at a time. Left.
There we go. Okay. Sink into this moment. Give yourself a chance to slow down. All this movement is what's keeping you stuck. It's the grand irony of life. All the spinning, all the movement, all the things you think you need to have, the desire to get from A to B, it's what's keeping you immobile, imprisoned. In meditation, as you slow down and let everything come to a stop, in that stopping, the door opens. In that stopping, the entire universe becomes available to you again. First, it's like a void, a comfortable void, a void that leaves you energized. But that void is purifying of the habitual placements of attention that are the mechanism of your prison. And as those fall away, that void gives you the opportunity to step into any area of life you could possibly want to step into. It allows you to attract entirely new circumstances to you, just by letting go of the stories that say they're not coming. It's the doorway to rapid change if you're willing to endure a little discomfort. That nothing space returns to you your power of choice. As a human, you're mostly already created. You know, you might not have realized all your wants, but your wants are already there. You didn't choose them. So whenever I say that your power of choice is returned, I use the term pretty loosely. But you're sharing this world with other humans, and that's what's so special about this experience in life. You get to bump up with people who want something different. You get to bump up with people who carry different stories, different lineages of storyline passed from one human to another, to another, to another. This happens at every level of life. From the most carnal and violent levels of life to the highest, most spiritual levels of life. You have the opportunity to experience a different way of being. Whether or not you want to isn't really up to you. But at a certain part of your natural evolution, you will start bumping into people who have higher teachings to offer. At first, you'll know that you don't really understand, but you know there's something important there. Because at a soul level, you can feel it. Your soul remembers. When that happens, a new want arises, a spiritual want, if such a thing exists. You can't really get there through wanting, but it's useful in the beginning to glue you to a direction. But the changes that you need to make, which are not so much what you do. I mean, yes, you should be meditating every day, and yes, you should be practicing these things. but it's more what you become, a way of approaching every moment. That's a major shift. A major shift from where a person is before they bump into that to where a person ends up afterwards. A chasm of sorts that has to be crossed. What gives you the power to make such a radical shift is the ability to step out of everything that you are. The discipline of stepping back into that nothing space. The ability to put it down. Most nights after a class like this, you get to that space, and then a thought of your old life comes back, and you catch it, and that thread, piece by piece, pulls your old existence back into the space, probably over the course of 15 minutes to an hour. And you reassemble your world quite effortlessly. What you maybe don't realize is that if you can assemble that world, you can assemble any world. If you can get to that nothing space, you can shift your expectations of the world around you. Because you don't have a story left telling you that you can't. And then you can step forward with those new expectations, and it will pull new things out of the woodwork. One of the most common things I've heard over the years for people who are actually practicing is they're saying, I'm different, but I'm also noticing people around me are different. Everyone is different in how they talk to me. You know, the ones that are really awake, they notice that early on. And it's because they've released a bunch of their expectations. They're not worrying about what kind of interaction they're about to have. And so the moment is freed up. But what holds your current life in place is a bunch of assumptions. Assumptions and expectations. And life just fulfills them for you. If it's not fulfilling them for you, it's usually because you have a competing expectation. And we can give you a bunch of easy answers, like most people do, and tell you that if you just focus on this, or if you just visualize that, or if you do X, Y, or Z, then you can just change your expectations and the world will change. But anybody who's really done it can tell you it's not easy. The key is you first have to be able to strip yourself of everything, and not slowly. I mean, you need to be able to sit down and let go of all of it and step into the nothing. Step into that void space. So Joanna is saying, if it's applicable, could you please talk about liminal space or liminal reality? It keeps coming up for me and I can't quite grasp the concept. So Joanna, that's exactly what we're talking about. The word liminal, in the context that Joanna is bringing up, is a word that means in between two spaces. It's a space where you haven't landed on one reality, which means you are open and you are available to become something different. A liminal space is a place of released expectation. It's where all the power is. It's where all the freedom is. You know, the technique that I give you guys for breathing is that you inhale and you exhale and you're watching it. But the real key is that in between the inhale and the exhale, there is this vast expanse of nothing space. And you just have to watch it. A window opens and there it is. And then it's there at the bottom when you've exhaled, right before you inhale, another space. And you just start to become more aware of those nothing spaces in between the breaths. There's another one that you can hear every time I stop phonating. If you really listen, it's like falling off a cliff. Into the silence. Into the liminal nothing space. Why is all the power there? I think a good analogy is potential energy. You know, if you have a boulder at the top of a hill that is round, it has all this potential energy stored up because if you let go of it, it's going to roll down the hill. Where did it get that energy? Well, someone had to lift it up the hill. They used energy to get it there. And now it's just there. And it has everything it needs to roll down the hill. That's like creating a story and stepping into it. And now you have all these attitudes and assumptions, and a structure is built, and there's people involved. If you wanted to just get out of it, it would take a lot of energy. Right? A ball already at the bottom of the hill, it's going to take some work to get it back up to the top. If it's at the very top of a fairly pointy mountain, it can roll down in any direction. It has choices. At the top of the mountain, it could roll forwards, it could roll backwards, and it would end up in a totally different place. But once it's well into its roll, its options feel limited. Once you've stepped into the story and built it up and you're feeling it and you're stuck in it and you're trying to figure out not the meaning of existence anymore, but what it means that this is happening in this story, which is a very different question. None of that's a road into a different story. You want to get into a different story, you have to go back up to the top of the point of the mountain. That's where you have a choice. You have to let go of the middle of the mountain, let go of the bottom of the mountain, and go back to the top. That's a liminal space between forward and back, right and left. That's the silence. That's the nothing space. That's where your choice is. That's where your power is. That's where complete change can happen. That's where you can rerun the story that you've already been living, but make very significant changes to it, or throw the whole story away and roll down the backside of the mountain into something completely new. You can live as many lives as you want to live in this one lifetime, depending on the cycles you've set in motion. You know, once you've given birth to some things or some beings, you have to consider them in your role. But there's a million ways to roll with those beings. But you have to let go of where you are to get where you want to go. And that's what we practice in this class, letting go of all of it. There's value to just being in that space. There's a world of exploration there that has no words attached to it. It's a void space, but it's not nothing. It's no thing, but it's not nothing. I cringe as I say that because it's become so trite, but it's true. It's bumper sticker spirituality. Teach in a library for 20 years. You know, you'll be handed a lot of bumper sticker spirituality from people who read too many books. But it's true. This is where your power is. You should get here every day. If you do it in the morning, then as you're getting ready to come out, in full awareness and without feeling, look at what you're about to step into and make some decisions, make some choices. What do I not want to entangle my mind with today? That's where you have the power to do it. Once you're in it, it's not too late, right? You can get good at pulling out of it and going back to that space, but it's not the same. It's not the same as when you go there from a place of everything being okay. What do I not want to entangle my mind with as I look at work? What do I not want to get stuck in when I contemplate my own mortality? How would I like to walk through that? When I deal with my family? What if I made some choices in what I'm willing to participate in? Physically, but also mentally. Where do I walk away? And when you have to walk away, is your mind walking away with you, or are you still stuck? You can make those choices at the top of the mountain and try them out. And if they don't work, you can change them. It takes practice. But really, God, what else is worth practicing? If that's not worth practicing, I don't know what's worth practicing. It's the thing nobody's practicing. That's your freedom. That's your power. Without that, you just have to play the deck that's been dealt, the hand that's been dealt. If you can get to the top of the mountain, life becomes an actual card game. You play a hand, you get new cards, you throw some other cards back. You grow and you grow and you grow. Until it's time to walk out. And when it's time, you do that gracefully, because you have a choice in how you feel. Messily, maybe, but with some choice. Let's see. Okay. I'm not going to read Joanna's next one out loud, but thank you, Joanna. Are there any questions about that? Can you feel the power of that? Does that come through? The room here is filled with it right now. Everyone in this room is trained to do this. You've all been coming here for quite some time. Don't make me the exercise bike that sits in the corner, the tool you never use. Use this to make your life better now. All right. So let's step into the silence together. And I want you to let go of absolutely everything. Just give it all to the fire of the silence. You won't lose anything. There's no way to. But I want you to find that void space. And when we're done tonight, I want you to look ahead at the rest of your night, and I want you to make some decisions. As to who you're going to be. Who you are is bigger than just you as an individual. Who you are is the night you're about to live. You're all of it. So first, let go of everything. Let it all go. Let life flow unimpeded. That lull you feel is a story. Let it go. It's you leaving the void to participate in time. Let it go. That little fatigue. Let it go. Let it go until all that's left is crystal clarity, unobstructed. Again, that waning that you feel. You're tracking time. Let it go. Time is the doorway back into the story. Let it go. Sit here as if you've always been sitting here, as if you will always be sitting here. And so there's nothing to track. What happens when you truly let go of all of it? When the last shred has been released, and all that's left is the true doorway. The true doorway out of you and into the everything else. You can feel the light of it as you get closer, can't you? Now from this place, just look at your life, specifically what's left of it today. For some of you, it's just an evening left. For others, I don't know. But look at the habitual energies, which is as simple as saying, look at what the quiet expectations are for how the rest of this day is going to go. And from the nothing space, let go of what isn't working and weave in a better approach. Who are you going to be with the rest of the time you have today? If you have a difficult person who has trained you to expect certain things from them, certain behavior patterns, you don't have to accept it. Let go of everything you know about them in that regard and expect something different from them. Assume something different consciously. Speak to them as if they are that person. Feel towards them as if they are that person. Changing you, not them. Your expectation, not them. They can fight it if they want. Step into a life you would want tonight. And if you're on your own, all the easier. How are you going to interact with the things that you're going to interact with? Even if it's your television or a journal or a book. How can you improve upon your assumptions tonight? As we come back, follow those new trails into the story. You can come back changed. There will be an invitation to re-enter the old storyline. Be ready for it. It'll probably come from your environment. Simply don't accept it. hold your new ground and let life adapt around it. It adapted around your old ground. It can adapt around new ground. Okay, everyone. Are there any questions about that? If you find something old coming up, an old feeling, an old attitude, don't resist it. Just shift your attention. Don't push against it. Shift your attention. Let it be there in the presence of something that wasn't there before. And if you don't feed it, it will fall away. And its echo will stop coming back to you from your environment. Give it a try. All right, everybody. If there are no questions, I think I'm going to let you go for the night. And I will see you next Thursday. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Liam.